Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of A Spiritual Remedy. My name is Sunshine Day, and I get to be the host of the show, not only to bring you a spiritual remedy to all of your daily living situations and circumstances, but to simply engage in community conversations around how we can best live our life. I know I want to live an amazing life and a joyful life, and I want to be living my best life. And so I do this show to encourage people, especially those people in recovery, that by taking a few spiritual steps and incorporating some spiritual practices in life, that we become our best people. Welcome back, Bertha. Been missing you. Good morning. I'm so grateful to have you with me this morning. Nancy, what's up? Good to have you here this morning as well. Today, I really want to focus on the topic of admitting when you are wrong, admitting when I am wrong. Woo, we're going to get deep on this Monday morning. So, um, for folks who are in 12-step recovery, here's what I just want to say, or even folks who are recovering from weapons of mass distraction. Here's what I want to share with you is that you can live an amazing life by becoming aware, awake, alert. And these few simple things that we talk about each and every week here are steps that you can take to improve the quality of your life. And all I get to say is like, just try it. Try it and see if it's something that you enjoy for yourself. In 12-step recovery, as I was saying before, I was interrupted by my own thoughts. I know, take a breath, right? There is a quote unquote step 10 that it says, and it invites us to continue to take personal inventory, and when we are wrong, to promptly admit it. Whoa. What I'd love to know from some of you is how you admit that you are wrong. What are some of the ways that you admit that you are wrong? I know that some of the easy, simple ways are I made a mistake, my bad, I was wrong, or I could have done that differently. It's my fault. But you'd be surprised as to how many times people in our lives, and maybe that people in your life might be you, that person in your life might be you, how many times we are wrong and don't admit it. What is that about? What is it about making a mistake and making an error and not admitting it? Not just saying, hey, I made a mistake, or my bad, I made an error, I messed up. What is that about? I would love to hear from some of you in the comment section what you think that's about, and how you admit you're wrong sometimes. Or do you have to wait to be confronted or for someone to approach you in order for you to just kind of go, hey, I was wrong about this, or I could have made a better decision about this, or, my bad, I messed up. A lot of times when I think about like when people are wrong, I think about, and in thinking about this particular topic, I started thinking about all those, hi Farrell, welcome beloved. I started to think about all those people who, the TV evangelists, I have sinned before God, and they like beat themselves up, and they lament, and it's like the gnashing of teeth and the tearing of their clothing, and admitting like they're this huge sinner. For me, this is not about sin in the biblical sense. I mean, sin really means I missed the mark. So if you think about like shooting a bow and arrow, and the center is your target, and you let it go and it misses, you just You just missed the mark. It's not a big deal. Um, but sometimes we make it a big deal in admitting that we're wrong. And I wonder what that's about. Studies have shown that it's about sometimes people with fragile egos. And people who picture themselves in a particular way. Thank you, Bertha. For me, it's about control. Until I'm quiet and let control go, then I can easily say my bad. Yeah, like let me keep it together. Let me keep it together, keep it together, keep it together. But it takes, and I like that you went into like sometimes some of the first steps or that process for yourself, right? And that you kind of go, let me get quiet. And it's when you get quiet and you let go of control, like, oh, I gotta look good. I can't, or, for me, admittedly, like I'm the minister and I can't curse or I can't make a mistake or I'm supposed to be godly and all of this stuff, right? Like, or I'm a person in the community or I'm an aunt or a friend. And, we have these things that we make up in our own minds about who we're supposed to be and how we're not supposed to make mistakes, how we're supposed to be so evolved that we don't hurt or harm anyone or make mistakes. And that's all BS. It's part of our belief system, and that belief system means us no good. It actually brings upon harm. So I like to take this other look at this step 10 and 12-step recovery, or even just a regular just inventory of my life. And when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And it just means to admit it. Hey, admit it. Just admit it. Take an opportunity to admit it. And what does that do when we admit that we're wrong? What is that? What is that process like? So yeah, I love that you said, Bertha, I get quiet. I get quiet and I admit to myself, I let go of control. And I say, my bad, or I messed up, or here's what I'm discovering about myself. I know most recently I had a conversation with my beloved about, areas of myself that I continue to discover, where I don't necessarily like it when I behave in that way. And I got an opportunity to really look and go, what's that about? Like, what is that fear? What is that thing that I'm doing that causes me, what's the cause behind the effect? Because that's the thing, that there's cause and effect. And when the effect is like, oh, I don't like that about me, I begin to get quiet like Bertha and go, here's the effect. What is the cause of that effect? What is the belief that I'm having? What is the belief that I'm believing in, that I'm anchored in, that causes this behavior in me? And I get to the root of that. Now, intellectual people, loving people, honest people, humble people, admit they're wrong most of the time. It becomes part of just the working part of being human. In our humanity, even as advanced and as intelligent as we can be, we admit that we've made a mistake. Oh, I've made a mistake. I was mistaken. Oh, I made an error. I messed up. I know this is my fault. Here's what I did. I thought this was the correct way to do this, or I made this decision because I chose to do it this way because I thought this was the best way to handle it, and now it's not, right? But check out what happens when we're able to admit our wrongs. Hola, Irais. I miss you. Group started. I'll let you know a little bit more about it. Call me. When we are able to admit we are wrong, what begins to happen is we become open to new ways of being and living. We become open to new ways of thinking. So, see, there's actually a benefit that is for your highest and best for admitting when you're wrong. When I admit that I'm wrong, it opens me up to to asking spirit, to asking life, to asking my higher power, to asking that beloved indwelling presence, then what is the path? When we're talking about addiction, when we're talking about alcoholism, when we're talking about day-to-day living, and we're talking about, relapsing and going back to our weapons of mass distraction, whether it's food, sex, gambling, drugs, alcohol, relationships, whether it's shopping, whether it's that we're addicted to stress and fear and despair, when we are able to admit that we were wrong, when we're able to admit that this wasn't necessarily the best choice, the benefit, the gift, imagine that. You admit you're wrong, and instead of being punished, because that's what's been wrong with our society, you admit that you make a mistake and we punish you. We throw you in jail. We put you in the corner. We tell you you're wrong and you're bad and you're good for nothing. But there's actually a gift. And the gift that you give yourself in admitting that you're wrong is that you open yourself up to new ways of being, new ways of thinking, new ways of behaving. You become curious and interested in a different way of living that actually then benefits you. You begin to open up to discoveries like, wow, and this is a discovery, that I made yesterday in talking with my friend Michelle. We were on our way back from the Rise Festival, and we were talking about this step 10 and the power of admitting when we're wrong and to promptly admit it. The idea, hey, speaking of Michelle, there you go. Hey, Michelle. Hey, good morning. Good morning. The power of admitting when we're wrong and doing it promptly just continues to open us up for new ways of living, new ways of being. We're simply telling life, oh, I made this choice. It wasn't for the highest and best. So now what choices, what decisions are for the highest and the best? How do I do that? And we become open to new ideas, to new thoughts, to new ways of being. But when we're playing life small, and when we're seeing life from this myopic point of view, no, I'm not going to admit that. Like, I'm afraid. But when we do admit our wrong, when we do admit that we've made a mistake, and that's the key. It's kind of like in the movies, take one, right? And we acting and we're doing, and it's just like, no, take two. That's a mistake, mistake where we miss that mark, and it's okay. It really is. Now, some of you may go, oh no, it ain't okay, because maybe somebody's life is at stake. It's a different deal when a surgeon makes a mistake, or when I just make a mistake when I'm adding for a math test, or an accountant makes a mistake with where to put the decimal point on the left or the right side of the zero. It can be costly. However, we are humans. We are human beings. This is part of our learning process. And as part of our learning process, this is what happens for us. We get this opportunity to live our fullest life and our best life. And when we do make a mistake, when there is a mistake, we get to go, oh yeah, here's what I did. This is the choice that I made. It wasn't necessarily the best choice. Now, will some of those mistakes have consequences and maybe negative consequences? Yeah, like might you lose a job behind it? Yeah, sometimes. Might you lose a relationship about it? Yes, sometimes that's true. Let's see what Sunny Day has to say. Sometimes my promptly admitting it looks like retreat. Let me go within myself, own my mistakes so that I can love, presently love you. Right. Oh, so check that out, right? Sometimes it means that I treat myself again. In other words, so I retreat, I take some time, kind of like what Bertha said, right? Until I'm quiet and I'm able to let go of control, right? That it looks like, wait a minute. If I've harmed somebody, maybe I go within, I retreat. I own my mistake. Oh yeah, this is my error. I made an error here. And then presently love you. So in other words, how would I lovingly treat you instead of how maybe I treated you before? When I own my mistake and I love you, and it can be anybody. It can be a coworker, a friend, it can be anyone. Love is love is love, right? So when we're able to admit that we are wrong, there is a huge gift. There is the opportunity to learn. And thank you, Michelle. Michelle says, becoming aware. I become aware that I'm not perfect. So I don't have to be acting holier than thou. I don't have to um I don't have to like act like I know it all. I can simply be one amongst many, and that has value. My belief system tells me that I can't make mistakes or that I can't admit my wrongs because you're going to see me or judge me poorly. That doesn't matter. The gift of me admitting it and doing so promptly opens me up. It gives me an awareness that I get to learn some more. Hi, Tammy Maxine. Happy thanks and giving. Thank you. You are so welcome. And when we actually, Tammy reminds me of something when she says thanks and giving. When we admit that we're wrong, we're actually giving to ourselves. We're giving to ourselves the opportunity for more growth, more awareness, more love. I don't know about you, but as someone who has, read and studied many of the holy scriptures and books, the Torah, Quran, and the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible. Now, mind you, I haven't read them thoroughly and have been this scholar of them. In my perusal of them, and as I studied certain sections of these holy books, I'm reminded of Jesus the Christ, Jesus the enlightened one. And, in the Bible, he is painted out to be this perfect person without sin. And in the human form, we make mistakes. As a child, no one documented his life. No one documented, mind you, all the documentation of the book that is now known as the Bible, that was written like over 200 years after his death. So you can imagine that the stories that were passed on, you can't even tell a story in telephone in 5 minutes and have it be, unless someone purposefully changes it. But right, you don't get the same story. So imagine 200 years later, someone writing stories about Jesus the Christ. It definitely changes. So it embellishes and embellishes. And how sometimes even when you tell a story, you embellish and you make it like more theatrical and things of that nature. The Bible makes it seem as though, And people make it seem as though he was without sin, that he never sinned. But he was in the temples, and he got so angry that he turned over the tables, and that pretty much he was just kind of like yelling and screaming and lost his temper. Now, here's the idea, is that many people who follow the teachings of Jesus, I don't know about you, but if in fact Jesus was without sin, was perfect and without sin, how could I ever match that? It's kind of like, okay, sunshine, here's this robot, this perfect robot, and you are now to live your life like this robot. I'm not a robot, so I cannot follow and do and try to live this robotic way, because we're not matched. So why would I even strive to live like this robot or like Jesus, right? Why, if he's perfect and I'm not perfect, there's no way I'm ever going to maximize that, right? But he did say, greater works shall ye do, right? And here's the reasoning of what I'm talking about here. I'm going to connect it now. If Jesus, the Christ, this person who is written about and who has changed the lives of many, many people, if he was human, just like us, with the capacity to make mistakes and errors, to learn and grow, well, now that's somebody who I could follow like a mentor. Oh, wow. If this person overcame these things in their human form, just like me, then I have that capacity as well. But if there's somebody who's superhuman and woohoo, why would I even try to? Because I know I can't achieve that. So it's the same thing with what I'm talking about here, is that we are human beings. We make mistakes, we err, we fault. And to the degree that we just promptly admit it, that we're able to go, dang, that was my mistake, or I did this, or just have the capacity to be honest. It is there that we actually have the greatest gift of being humble, of being open to learning, of being open-minded. Hello, Claudette. So glad you're watching. Thanks for being with us. To have that opportunity to learn something new. And here's the point that I absolutely want to make. When you are wrong, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. You're not dumb. You're not stupid. You're not a butthead. Stop calling yourself names for making an error. Instead, I encourage you to admit it. If you need to apologize, make it a sincere apology and say, wow, I really messed this up. I'm going to do better the next time. I really want to do better next time. I really need to learn this program a little bit better, or this is taking me a little bit longer than before. And be gentle with yourself. I know that there have been many people in your life who may have, told you that you're dumb or stupid or slow, or what's wrong with you for making an error and a mistake, or better, or beginning to shame you. Do not shame yourself. Be gentle with yourself when you make a mistake. Be kind and loving to yourself. Be open to finding new ways, new thoughts, new ideas in which to really approach this activity, the situation, the next time. And if you find that you have a fragile ego and you don't want to admit you're wrong, begin to journal about it. Begin to write about it. Begin to ask yourself what your belief system is around admitting a wrong, around admitting a mistake. It is part of the way that we learn. It is part of our humanity. and the gift in admitting it and promptly admitting it, or even slowing down to reflect and then coming back to admit it. The gift of that is that it humanizes us. We are divinely human. And that as part of recovery work, as part of the work that it takes for us to really be our divine selves and live our best life, is that we don't have to carry that baggage of all the mistakes that we've made in the past that we haven't admitted. Oh man, I should have told that person that I did that, and instead I did something else. That we get to live an unencumbered life. Hey, Deborah. Hey, Doc. What's up, Dockery? I love you. So, beloveds, let's just take a moment to go into the silence. And I'm just going to speak a word of blessing onto you today. And how grateful I am in this moment for this message, for this word that has come through me in admitting our wrongs, that there is a gift in admitting our wrongs. And so if there's anything whatsoever that gets in the way of admitting wrong, we simply allow that ego, we simply allow that pride, any idea of shame or guilt to simply go by the wayside. And it is simply an act of recognizing that we are indeed whole, perfect, and complete. And that in that perfection, in that wholeness, in that completeness, that mistakes are our learning way. And how grateful I am that each of us that are within the sounds of my voice now can easily and effortlessly learn from our mistakes, learn from our errors, learn that we're open and receptive to new ways of being, to new ways of living, to new ways of loving. How grateful I am for this opportunity to talk about admitting when we're wrong, and for it to humanize us one with one another, where we can really relate and kind of go, wow, that person is being so real, or so humble, or so kind, or so in such learning mode. I give thanks. I give thanks for this time together. I give thanks for the love that we have. And I give thanks that by admitting our errors and admitting our mistakes, that we open up to new ways of being, to new ways of living our best life. So for this and so much more, I give thanks, blessing each and every one of us as we are indeed blessed. For this and so much more, I give thanks, blessing this day, naming it good and very good. It is done. It is done. It is done. Thank you so much, beloveds, for watching today. You mean the world to me, and I love you. I'm here for you, so call upon me, and remember to send me your gratitude list. Send me that gratitude list and text me your gratitude list, and I will text you back mine. That's one of the ways we stay in touch. Until next week, know that I love you. Bye for now.